We arrived here in 1930, but it was a hard life in a depression here in Canada. And I left school to help out Dad at the gas station. My mother said one son in the army is enough, and she was adamant that I didn't go into the military. I think it was just after that that I saw a group of Canadian paras walking downtown Toronto, and they looked real smart. And I said, that looks good enough for me. And then on Sunday, we were picked up and taken out to the Shiloh camp. Sharp on Monday morning, we started into physical training. I clearly remember on the Wednesday, which is the third day, when we got back from all the physical training we were doing, and that was over 8 hours of steady physical training, just like that. And not one guy bothered to go eat supper at the mess hall. They just flopped into bed. We got a call that the battalion was going overseas. They were under strength, and they just took the 3 classes that were in process and put us in with the battalion. We sailed on the Queen Mary, and I think the bunks were 4 high, and we were shipped up to Ringway, England, where we immediately had to go through the training that the Brits went through. Got our wings in Ringway. From then on, it was field training constantly. And always before breakfast, you had a 5-mile run, a 10-mile hike, a 10-mile run. You had a 15-mile hike, a 15-mile run. You had a 20-mile hike, a 20-mile run. You had to do those on a regular basis. I think it was almost once a month. We landed around midnight. The assault company was to capture the DZ, get rid of any opposition there. The battalion was to come in a half an hour later with the whole division. Our battalion led the whole division in. Out of the 120 men in our stick, as far as I know, as I heard hearsay from the others, only 35 men landed on the field. That 35 men and a few stragglers later carried out all the objectives. From the battalion, there was actually a total spread of almost 40 miles between, from one extreme to the other. I landed about, I don't know how many miles away, 6, 7 miles away. Just poor navigation. I think there was 4 of us in total. And I was headed in the right direction. It was almost daylight when gliders started coming in, and from that point we knew where we had to be. It was late in the day when we arrived at the place where our defense position was. After all the action was over, we'd carried out the objectives. Everybody was to gather in where a predetermined place where we were to dig in and set up a defensive position. When I went on patrol the next day, that house was gone and were all huge craters, so they got a good barrage on that place. The second day we were attacked, and we made a mistake. Only inexperience would do. The Germans were across that field. They opened fire on us. Instead of lying quiet, every one of us opened up. And that was all there was to that action. And that's all they wanted to know. They wanted to know where we were. We should have lied quiet and wait until they came right on us. But that was inexperience. They just first time in the battle. Anyway, from that point on, we got shelled every day. It's a pretty bad experience being under those barrages day in and day out. Brigadier Hill, the British commander, took over and shells were whistling overhead and bullets, and we were sort of running, crouched a little bit, and the brigadier was just walking along the edge there with a swagger stick under his arm, said, "Come on, lads, nothing to worry about." But it made us feel better. Anyway, we crossed this road, and we passed a whole string of burning jeeps and Bren gun carriers, dead bodies all over the place. So we were expecting the Germans to come at any minute. 3 tanks came up, and I thought, oh, this is great. We're all set. We had 3 Sherman tanks come up. And they came up in front, turned in front of us. The first one was directly dead in front of myself and Rushton, and he blew up. They had what they call a German SP-88, and they never miss, those Germans with those 88s. He brewed up. The other gun, he started to turn his turret. He brewed up. 1, 2, 3. So we had 3 burning tanks in front of us. We could no longer see or had a place to shoot until the Germans got past those tanks. So that was the action almost every day. Shelling every day, patrols every day and night. Everybody said, "Jesus Christ, I hope I get a blighty," which means a nice one, enough to get you back to England for a while, get a break. There's 2 things you learn to stay alive. You learn where not to go and what not to do. I tend to think that I was quite lucky. I got thrown right back to the backside of the trench, and I kept my head down, and I stooped over, wondering what the hell happened. Well, then the blood started dripping. He shot me and got me through here. Fortunately, he was either missed or was a nice guy, I don't know which. Turned out to what I call a blighty. I wasn't feeling too bad about it at all. Taken to a civil hospital. I think there was 6 or 7 young nurses in training. Just took all the dirty clothes off me and bathed me, and I thought, Jesus, I'm in heaven. I wasn't away from that battalion a week or 2 weeks, and I was anxious to get back. Just before Christmas, orders came, get ready, we're going into the Ardennes. Well, the weather was so bad, we went into the Ardennes by ship. The Americans had taken a beating there, I think a day or 2 before. Oh, it was bitter cold. God. So it was just a cat and mouse game with the Germans. Somewhere the last week of February, back to the UK, issued new equipment and ammunition, and on March the 24th, we dropped in on over the Rhine. That was a totally different jump. 2,000 men were in the air in 17 minutes. The whole sky was just full of chutes. Daylight dropped. We knew the Germans were below us and there would be casualties, but the brigadier insisted that we get in there and get it over with fast. Somebody opened up fire on us at the front of the column. We all over the side of the trucks and saw a movement, and I fired and I hit this young fellow, and then I got the shock. All these young fellows, Hitler Youth, stood up with their hands up. They were all laying behind a hedge with machine guns, bazookas, all kinds of weapons. Carried on then to Wismar, where we went right through the town, put up roadblocks. A couple hours later, the Russians arrived. Germans were streaming through. Everybody was trying to get away from the Russians, and they were happy that we were there. We could hear at night. We could hear the screams and whatnot going on the Russian side. Went back to Dad, and the business was pretty good. I look at pictures now of before D-Day, and then a picture that I've got taken in Holland. I can see a big difference in myself. A country, a nation has to be prepared to defend itself. There's nothing worse than a nation that just gives in. they should learn about it so that at least they have a grasp of what things could be, and that maybe life isn't so bad today after all. It could be a heck of a lot worse.